Hello, everybody, and welcome to the long-awaited Orange Reviews. I'm your host, Soufflé Lemon, and Thanksgiving was last week, so I skipped out on episode 11. However, I'm going to summarize it briefly and quickly and efficiently right now. Sogo already gained the Gaim armor and used it to defeat, sort of, the Gaim, another Gaim. However, it didn't work out all that well, and he meets God, Orange God, Kazurabakota. However, it appears to have created some sort of strange butterfly effect. Now, originally, I didn't believe that the Man of Beginning would be affected, considering that technically he should be outside of space-time, but I'll go over it a little bit. But as we see in episode 12, he does indeed, in fact, get erased. However, there should be another Man of Beginning. However, it's just not Kota. It's most likely the Roshu. It's most likely Roshu, considering how the events that would have led Helheim to Earth never took place. Therefore, while there are still Inus and there are still Overlords, it never came to Zawami City. That's the case for the timeline in Zio's timeline with Gaim. After that, there are two Sogos. We still have Gates moving out. He gets trapped inside of Helheim Forest. I do remember that happening. And the last thing I meet is that he sees Mijo Banana, and then he gives this overwhelmingly Kaito-esque themed speech, as you do, about how he's just not strong enough to achieve his goals yet. Gotta achieve it with your own strength, reach the top with your own power, so on and so forth. So we go off into episode 12 with our two Sogos meeting each other, and an explanation of how the Sogo from episode 11, beginning, needs the current Sogo in order to truly defeat another Gaim. Waltz does not generally like this plan because it involves saving Gates, who Waltz does not seem to care for in the slightest. And he even seems a little ticked off and annoyed by the plan that's beginning to form. We go back to the Helheim Forest, where we see Kaito and Gates continuing their little conversation from before, with the words that Kaito spoke to him getting on Gates' nerves a little bit, to the point of where it's basically stuck in his head. And Kaito, you gotta have your own strength and accomplish your goals your own way, otherwise you are a dog and worthless and can't do anything. Although we already know that the time progression has hit Kaito a lot more than it's hit Kota, because Kota still has some sort of understanding and recognition. I think that's what I want to say. Because he still has the Gaim Lockseed, not Lockseed, damn it, Gaim Ride Watch. And as you know, if the riders have the Ride Watch, or anyone who has the Ride Watch has the Ride Watch, their memories slowly come back for short periods of time in short bursts, as we saw with Beast in episode, I want to say 8. So anyway, after coming out of that, we go and see that Waltz is actually meeting up with Schwartz, and apparently is forming a slight dubious alliance. This is not only showing how Waltz is trying to not only interrupt the plan, but at the same time trying to basically keep Gates inside of Helheim Forest, because essentially that will eliminate Gates eventually. Needs to end, as he calls it, in order to ensure that he becomes Ormazio. Anyway, Sogo follows the note that Sogo gave him, and Tsukiyomi and Sogo go to an a fruit shop. I'm pretty sure it's the exact same one from Gaim. And where we see Kota actually working, he drops some oranges on their heads for comedic effect. Then another Gaim shows up out of the woodworks to beat the crap out of Sogo, because Sogo beat him up earlier, and also both Sogos revealed him as a monster. Yeah, it's not going to stop. You're going to hear Sogo's name a lot. Sogo transforms into Zio, and we see Kota start to. I'm guessing memories flowing out from the Man of Beginnings, Kota, because supposedly the Man of Beginning shouldn't even be affected by the whole time thing. He's supposed to be existing outside of time, which explains why he was able to show up even though Sogo already gained the Gaim Ride Watch in episode 11's beginning. That's the explanation of that. It takes a time paradox to erase his time paradox. There was already a time paradox, because if you remember Kamen Rider Drive Grand Prix, when Shocker rearranged history, this inevitably created two timelines for Gaim. So it takes one paradox to undo the other paradox, which is why he disappears at the end of episode 12. At least that's my guessing. Anyway, another Gaim reveals his power, the summon Inus from Helheim Forest, which makes sense. If you remember the earlier days of Gaim, you used to be able to use lock seeds to summon Inus for the Inus games. So there's that. And funny scene with Tsukiyomi and the Sogos when he's fighting another Gaim. Oh yeah, and Koto just gives him the stuff because, you know, Man of Beginning memories. Yeah, you deserve this, you need this. Do the do. Do the do. So Sogo's plan gets interrupted by Swartz stopping time. And really probably the most coolest thing I've seen ever is he pulls a Kamen Rider Kronos. He not only stops the bullets, but then redirects them through time powers into Zio. Sort of like how Kronos was able to do with whatever snipe shot at him. Or really whatever projectile went to him, to be honest with you. Either way, he takes and throws the Gaim Ride Watch into Helheim Forest. And the Suika Ride Watch, which is, I find it really hilarious how you expect it to be this gigantic, monstrous, beast mode monster in its debut, and it's just like, no, it's a tiny little mech, like the food droids from 4s. So he throws it inside of Helheim Forest, and I think the Suika droid goes in after it. And this is basically just according to Sogo's plan. And we see that Swartz Lee, we go back and we have Tsukiyomi confronting Watts about what he did. And then we see, for once, Sogo's uncle father, you know what I'm trying to say. He, for once, actually does something really, really cool. He fixes a clock. Something I never thought I'd see in his clock shop. Anyway, Watts is going to use this to keep better track of time in the present, apparently, according to his words, not mine. Anyway, past Sogos doesn't really care. He's like, you're just doing what you're doing once, you know, be you. Don't worry. I already kind of figured out what was going to happen and already had planned for it, but, you know, be you. So there's that. Then the Sogos message Gates, who sees two Sogos and comments on there being two Zios. And basically, the 3 days ago Sogo is probably the most mature I've seen Sogo, honestly, so far. Like, he gets, like, right down into the feels in, like, for 5 seconds. He's like, you just did this for, basically just so Gates could come back. Now, he doesn't know the future completely, but he does at least know that Gates needs to come back in order for time to progress correctly. The paradox is apparently closed off and fixed after they transform and beat another Gaim. Gates utilizes the wisdom and words he's heard from 9,000 different people in 1 to 2 episodes, and breaks through using the bike and, of course, the power of Gates and, of course, the power of Gaim to break through a rift in time-space that shows up in Helheim Forest to free himself and hand the current Sogo the Rider Watch that the other Sogo lost to Sogo. Lost. I'm not even going to get into it right now. Oh, God. I'm starting to trip up over my own Sogos. Anyway, so both of the Sogos transform at the same time into Gaim armor, which is, I'm really gonna say it, and I'm gonna be really honest with you. So far, my favorite Riot armor to this day still is the build Riot armor. It's still my favorite. I don't care much at all for the Gaim armor. Just shoot me. I just don't care for it. I also don't like the Kabuki mode he uses. I don't know why he goes Kabuki in a samurai. I'll never get it. funny little moment where he predicts and is like, "Hey, what? Aren't you gonna do the whole look? The armor guy, he's appeared." I thought that was funny. And of course they do the slice. Funny fact: when they do the squash or sklosh or finish thing, get a little interesting quip from Tsukiyomi about how dice cuts are square. The man of beginning disappears, and yeah. So that's pretty much about the episode, pretty much. So let's talk about these episode previews, because they are quite interesting. So Waltz talks about how, you failed to eliminate him now, but we can kill Tsukiyomi and Gates some other time. And apparently he looks into his books and is like, oh no, something's wrong. Gates' name is, we don't know, but Gates' name is something. Next episode we have the living dead meme Takeru's coming back. That's basically all. I tried to be clever and it failed horribly. And also Sogo gets turned into a ghost. I guess that's poetic justice. Be a ghost to use ghost's power. But anyway, it's the return of my name is Tinju. I can never say his last name. Takeru's coming back. That's all you need to know. And you know who else is coming back? Motherfucking passing through Kamen Rider Decade. He's coming back. My favorite Kamen Rider, not my favorite series, but my favorite Kamen Rider is coming back. Sipping tea menacingly. This is literally become my lock screen save. I love this little. He's sipping tea in the chair, and it's like, it's like, I don't even know how to explain it. And we see that he already has the Decade ride watch. Now, Decade, because the majority of his series happened inside of another parallel worlds, his timeline is not necessarily a part of the main series timeline. We know this because even though Double did show up in his movie, it can be assumed that was through a rider wall, considering how he needs a rider wall to reach Double in the movie War that happened after that one. It also is extremely important to know that if Zio does, which he won't, erase Decade from history, he won't, because there's no another Decade. You can't do that. That's like fucking up the multiverse. So, yeah. Decade is the only one who probably will save being erased from existence. That's sad. When the person who literally in the introduction for the next 2 episodes says, "Yeah, I destroy worlds," is not going to be erased from history. That's wow, your morals. But yeah, that would just be fucked up for the entire multiverse. And I know what you're thinking, but didn't all the worlds collide into one? Yeah, but in a similar sense to Build, but it's more canonical. That world is probably just an AR world in and out of itself. Whereas Build's world merged, we can all assume that it merged with the timeline. At the end of, that's what I assume is the most logical way, but some things don't make sense and blah, 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 blah. Like, we'll probably never see our Sento again. That's just the plotline Sento that we saw in Zio first 2 episodes. But to cut it straight to the point, in lieu with the new movie that's coming out, Heisei Generations Forever, it may be a production order timeline. I don't know. Who knows? I mean, he only went in order once. Build, then X8, and everything else is pretty much out of order. Sort of like Decade, but I guess it fits because words and whatever. But yeah, that's basically it. I hope you enjoyed. This one was actually short because I got to the point. I'm learning slowly, guys. I'm learning slowly. But this has been my review of, my review of episode 12 and a very short summary of episode 11. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you, and be blessed. For Thanos is here. 夢ならばどれほど良かったでしょう。未だにあなたのこと夢に見る。忘れたものを取り